Greetings, Earthlings. My name is Cody Baynard, coming in from space, I guess. And speaking of space, I'm going to be talking about a band that is very much themed around space. And that band is Ison, and the album that I will be talking about from them is their latest record that just came out this weekend on all platforms, titled Stars and Embers. Ison is a very genre-bending band. It's hard to really pigeonhole them into a very specific subgenre. If I were to describe it, it's like space ambient post doom metal. I guess if that feels accurate. Also, there's I guess doomed space gaze, I guess is the right term. I don't know. It's they're cool. They have a cool sound. I discovered them a few years ago through their at the time sophomore album Andromeda Skyline. They combined, as I mentioned before, elements of carbon-based life forms and solar fields like ambient drone with post rock and doom metal and shoegaze, with these very beautiful ethereal vocals from ex-vocalist Heiko Langhans. Following the album Inner Space, which released in 2019, Heike, however, unfortunately left the band and is now part of other projects such as Romina. After that, the main member of the band, Daniel Ankheed, decided to get a bunch of guest vocalists lined up on the track list of their previous record, Aurora, from 2021, with each song containing a different guest vocalist. These guest vocalists ranged from Cami Gilbert from Oceans of Slumber to Catherine Shepard from Sylvain. But following that, Daniel decided to hire Lisa Cuthbert as the main vocalist of the band now, at least for this album in question, which, whether intentional or not, kind of makes Aurora, in retrospect, almost feel like some sort of giant glorified audition session. And honestly, I am very happy with this decision as for Lisa Cuthbert to be the main singer for the band. For not only does she have a similar kind of voice to Heike, but she also brings in a bit of her own personality with her vocal delivery as well. The main difference that I'm finding is that in comparison to Heike, Lisa has a little bit more emphasis on melody and harmony. Not that Heike didn't focus on this at all or anything like that, but Lisa feels a bit more focused on that herself in comparison. There's lots of layers of different vocal runs and harmonized singing melodies and everything like that. It just kind of all of this just kind of floats around in the mix and the atmosphere, resulting in a vocal style where she's able to, in a way, kind of flex her skills, but in my opinion, without coming off pretentious or self-indulgent. For her main focus, much like any other singer who was featured on Ison's project, just very much focuses on adding to the atmosphere of the band. Now, this latest record, Stars and Embers, is kind of an interesting milestone for the band, for it is their longest album to date at 73 minutes long. Wow. And so, due to that length and due to the kind of similar structure of the songs on here, that does kind of lead to probably my main critique with this album, just going into it head first. Most of the songs, with the exception of the closing song, In a Row, feature roughly pretty much the exact same song structure. We begin with these ethereal, melancholic synthesizers before we have more and more layers of sounds or melodies or vocals or whatever to kind of build cinematic tension before we have this mammoth-sized doom metal infused crescendo around the middle or around the end or so. And this kind of structure at least on my first couple of listens, did maybe begin to lose a touch of its luster in context with the full album around like tracks 6 and 7. That being said, the more I listened to this album, the less that kind of structure and that kind of repetition became bothersome. Listening to each song in a row kind of does feel like you're just hypnotized by these sonic waves of sound and cinematic tension and release. And on top of that, the way that they execute this kind of formula every time, pretty much, is seriously friggin' effective. Even if it does kind of result in the album being a bit excessive with its length, it is still consistently beautiful, provocative, and immersive and emotional throughout that entire runtime. And I would say more so than most other things I've listened to in recent memory. All of what I'm saying is felt pretty much immediately with the opener Luminescent Reverie, which, begins as you would, I guess, expect from an Ison record with these somber ambient synthesizers combined with like a sample of what sounds like astronauts communicating with each other. I'm not sure where exactly this sample comes from, but it doesn't really matter to me because it still kind of does help to effectively set the tone of everything feeling like it is a soundtrack to being lost in outer space and probably completely lost and floating endlessly, maybe about to die. But grim imagery aside, the song is so beautiful. This track features guest vocals from someone named Dimming, who I have not heard of until I heard this track. But regardless, I still really love her guest vocals and the way that she and Lisa kind of complement each other to serve the track's main melody. Dimming, in particular, has this almost childlike timbre to her vocals, which gives things this kind of haunting feel that I really like. Before that melody is then combined with the, inevitable yet still incredibly emotionally cathartic finale with these just absolutely monster-sized guitars combined with these ambient synth layering that makes the wall of sound even more huge and even more just wide and like overwhelming yet still emotional. That momentum pretty much continues with the following song, Horizons, which is a 10-minute slow burner. This song definitely does take a good amount of time to get to where it is going. But once it gets there, once it reaches its finale, it is, I think it very much rewards the listener for his or her patience. Like, the song really wants to make sure that you feel like you've earned that climax, and it makes it all the more emotional when it finally comes in. Tracks like Peregrination and Beings of Light both feature Michael Stan from Dark Tranquillity doing guest vocals, where he performs his signature emotive and melodramatic crooning. We're trapped in the endless sea. We go away to be. Admittingly, maybe this vocal style isn't really as much my thing, but I still really like the way that it contrasts Lisa's more lullaby-like vocal style and making their vocal duets all the more intriguing. And along with that, there is a humming melody that is present during the outro of Peregrination that is then reprised on the song Beings of Light around the middle. And whenever either of these sections comes in, it seriously gives me goosebumps. And not to mention that both of these songs feature probably the most metal sounding guitars during their respective crescendos, especially Beings of Light with these really muscular, meaty post metal chugs that interestingly, very effectively contrasts Lisa's very pretty and ethereal vocal harmonies. Speaking of beautiful songs with really great duets, let's talk about the song Radiant Void, which features Circle and Wind, who also did a guest spot on the aforementioned Aurora. Except if I'm being honest, I do kind of like her guest vocals on this song more so than on her respective song from the previous album. Not that the vocals there were bad or anything, but you get what I mean. Like last time, she kind of provides these more high register, almost kind of Kate Bush-esque vocal melodies and performances that I think effectively serve the song and drive it forward. Like she is pretty much the main focus of this song. It's not just Daniel and Lisa driving the song anymore. This is Circle and Wind's main moment here, and it is super fucking pretty. Oh my god! Especially when we get to the song's chorus style finale. Like I actually sometimes find myself getting like teary eyed. Like it's so emotional. I love it so much. Admittedly, the track Formations maybe is kind of a lesser favorite if you ask me. Although I still do really like it a lot for what it is, and it did grow on me a good amount. Like the more I listened to it, I do really like the more weird sounding synthesizers that almost sound at times like a spaceship alarm. And I do really like how it kind of all leads up to one of the more triumphant sounding finales as Lisa delivers these almost heroic sounding vocal melodies. However, if I were to decide a personal favorite track on this record, it would be track 5, Aster. Although that is a very challenging decision because this album is packed with songs that are at least great. Like there isn't a single song that I would say isn't great. Yet something about Aster, I think in particular, maybe it makes it slightly even better than I think the rest, at least in my opinion. The song begins with these deeply sad ambient post-rock melodies combined with these additional atmospheric reverb-soaked pianos in the background to kind of make it feel even more mournful and almost funeral-like. Before the song very unexpectedly, yet also very seamlessly transitions into what almost feels to me like synthwave territory. Like I'm honestly reminded of like the most atmospheric songs from like Perturbator or somebody. But to me, the real star of the show of this track is the vocal harmonies. I know that the people involved at Ison went through a lot of vocal takes and a lot of different ideas that they tried using, which in a way is kind of the curse of the artist. Like in a way, it almost just feels like the work is never done.
Takes final.
Take final version
one.
2 of take final.
Last fucking take.
But if either Daniel or Lisa is watching this, I just want to let them know that all of the takes and all of the thought and effort that was put into the music, especially the vocals on here, is worth it because, oh man, the vocal harmonies on this song are perfection. Like I honestly can't think of anything wrong about them. And honestly, I can't really think of anything particularly wrong about this entire song. Like it's honestly, I would say this is pretty much a 10 out of 10 song. And hell, there are even other songs that also kind of feel like 10 out of 10s if you ask me. And one of those other songs that I would also give a 10 out of 10 to is the closing track that I have mentioned before, titled Embers. This song is, to date, the lengthiest piece that Ison have ever made at nearly 17 minutes in length. And unlike the rest of the songs that lead up to it, this one follows a pretty different formula. It's still not too different to the point where it feels out of place. For rather than following a traditional build and crescendo song structure combined with like doom metal elements, this song is comprised pretty much entirely of carbon-based life forms and solar fields-esque space ambient and psytrance worship, where they very much showcase their influences from like the Swedish ambient scene, if you want to call it that. And combined with that, Lisa's vocal harmonies and melodies are so fucking good. I mean, pretty much as always, but including on here. There are times where some of the melodies even kind of gave me vibes from like Elizabeth Fraser from Cocteau Twins, like from an album like Treasure or something. And rather than building towards a crescendo and then dying down for like a minute or two, this one reaches like a bit of a peak around the middle before like equally slowly dying down afterwards, making this whole thing feel like one giant, you know, swell and contraction, if you want to call it that, making for a stunning way to end an already stunning album. So yeah, besides like my minor nitpicks, I honestly can't really think of too much other music that makes me feel more emotional than this album in recent memory, which I think in a way probably makes it my album of the year thus far. Although, I mean, obviously we'll see. There's still lots of stuff on the way. We're only in April, but still. This is at the very least, I would say, my album of the year thus far in 2023. The songwriting combined with the beautiful mixing and production and just everything about it. The instrumentation is phenomenal. I just love this fucking album. Ison pretty much don't miss. Like, this is just another home run for Ison in a discography that is already comprised entirely of home runs, if you ask me. And, you know, I don't imagine that the quality of their work would, you know, lessen anytime soon. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts on the latest record from Ison. And so please let me know down in the comments below. Have you given this album a listen? If so, what did you think of it? And as always, please feel free to like and subscribe and comment and all of that good stuff. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.